local radio station.
For local people.
103.2 Preston FM.
Your community radio.
So maybe in the studio, not maybe, we've got Roger Roberts, who's the chairman, and Margaret Gregson are both with me from Banks Brass Band. So Roger, can you tell me something about the forthcoming trip? I mean, this is quite something, isn't it? It's quite something to... I would imagine it's going to be quite a happy trip, but yet a very emotional journey that the band's making.
Yes, it will be. This initiative sprang from an idea that Margaret had perhaps 3 or 4 years ago whilst looking through a book written by a local woman, Victoria Bannister, called Southport Splendid Hearts. And in there she discovered that a Banks Brass bandsman named Tom Riding had been killed in the First World War. And just to put it into perspective, the First World War isn't that far away, because as children we knew Tom's brothers, Hugh and Will Riding, so they were still around when we were youngsters, and we decided it would be a proper thing to do to make the trip over to France and Belgium to honour the 19 men of Banks who are listed on the War Memorial in St Stephen's Churchyard in Banks. Now, we made a trip over there 2 years ago, and of course this year being the centenary, we decided to return again and perhaps visit the graves of some of the men of Banks named on the War Memorial that time didn't permit us to visit on our last trip. So we will leave Banks early on Friday the 26th of September, returning late the following Monday the 29th, 2 coaches with players and 33 supporters in. We will travel through the Channel Tunnel and stay Friday night in Arras, and then on Saturday morning we'll drive to the Thiepval Memorial, which is the memorial to the missing on the Somme, where we will conduct a short ceremony service. And then we will drive to the nearby Doulon Cemetery, where one of our soldiers is buried, Sergeant John Blundell, and conduct a short service there, and then drive to Ypres in Belgium, where we are booked to play at the evening ceremony at the Menin Gate. This is a ceremony conducted every evening, 365 days a year, and we will play there. The honour this time is that we will accompany the band of the Irish Guards. So that's an arrangement that's just been made lately.
Wow.
So no pressure there for us.
No pressure there. None whatsoever. No.
And then the following day there are 4 cemeteries in the area surrounding Ypres where 4 Banksmen named on St Stephen's Memorial are buried, and we'll play services at each of those graveyards. And
that's what I mean about it being in some ways a celebration, but also quite an emotional time. And I'm sure when you are playing with the Guards, that is going to be one fantastic occasion. Is it known where most of the men fell from Banks? It is knowledge of where their graves are known.
We know where the graves are of 18 of the 19 men, and they're mainly in the Belgium, the Ypres salient area, and on the Somme. One actually died of his wounds after returning to Banks and is buried in Banks Churchyard. Another's buried in Germany, and the rest are in that locale.
And I know I'd read where you'd said that if anybody has lost relatives over there but can't make the trip themselves, that maybe they could make contact with you and the band, and maybe you could lay across for them or in remembrance of them.
Yes, we can. We're happy to do that, but obviously only because of the restrictions in time at the venues that we're visiting, which will be the Thiepval Memorial, the Menin Gate, and 5 cemeteries: the Doulon's Communal Cemetery in France, and the following cemeteries in Belgium: Solferino Farm, Artillery Wood, Dunhallow, and Dickey Bush. Now, if anyone has a relative buried in those cemeteries or commemorated at the Meningate or Thiepval, then we'll be happy to take a small memorial. It's suggested the size of a Royal British Legion cross, and we will lay that on their behalf. And they should contact me, Roger Roberts, on 07968 334840.
And it's somewhat ironic in a way, isn't it, that lots of villages across the country sadly no longer have a brass band, and yet in many villages across the country it was often the brass band that saw the fighters leave the village and go off to war. Did that happen in Banks? I mean, did the brass band actually play there as men left the village? Do you know?
I'm sorry, I don't really know. I know, obviously the brass band was in existence at that time, and I would have thought there would have been some sort of service, because it was a very religious community, so I would expect there would have been some sort of event to see the men go off to war, yes.
So Margaret, you're the person who's behind all this then. It was it was your thoughts that have now come to fruition, was it?
Yeah, it was just sort of almost like a throwaway comment really when I got this book, Southport Splendid Hearts, and I just sort of said, oh, wouldn't it be an idea to go and to go to Belgium and look at this grave of the bandsman Thomas Riding. And then it was picked up by Roger, who knows a lot about World War One and has visited the area quite a lot over the last 10 years, is it, or something like that. So he's very knowledgeable anyway, and he picked up and ran with that idea.
And I would imagine it has gathered a lot of interest around the village, the fact that this is what the band is doing.
Yes, it has. As I say, we actually went for the first time. This is our second visit, and we did go in 2012 and visited the graveyards where I think there were three banksmen buried in two of the graveyards, and they were going back to sort of pick up where the others are buried. So there has been a lot of interest, and people have sort of been looking for pictures, or I have got some sort of a letter which a soldier wrote back home. So yes, it has generated interest within the village.
And what about members within the band itself? Because you do have quite a number of young people playing in the band. So again, the fact that I take it with some of the younger people be coming along on the journey.
There aren't any. Sorry, not really the junior band going on there, but we have quite a number of newer members who have joined since 2012 who are coming for the first time.
Right.
So some of us went in 2012, and others it'll be the first time that they visited these cemeteries.
So a nice way again of keeping history alive and the names of the men who fell alive within the village.
That's right. And because we are a village band, and a lot of the members of the band have connections to the village, and actually connections to those people whose names are on the war memorial. So there is sort of also that sort of family or historical link back to those names. Okay. And who we're trying to commemorate.
Is there, for listeners, a website for the band where people can find out more about Banks Brass Band?
Yes, we do have a website. So I think the easiest thing is to just type in Banks Brass Band into the search engine, and it will immediately come up. Well, that's what I do anyway.
Banks Brass Band. So can I thank Roger and Margaret for coming into the studio this afternoon, and good luck with the trip.
103.2 Preston FM.
Your community, your radio.